that time again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. My name is Deborah, and I'm coming to you from here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I'm learning to do all sorts of other crafts as well. And I'll try any craft once and twice if I like it. And as you can tell from the state of my craft room, I like to do... What are you eating? What did you find? Like to try all different sorts of things. I'm always open to learning new crafts. I am also a professor of physics and astronomy at a local university where I teach courses to physics majors. I teach courses in general education, and I also am very interested in science literacy and women in STEM. My background is in astrophysics, and today's science sprinkle is going to be about that. So, Jessica, I hope you're watching. Also, I am a farmer. I am a third-plus generation family farmer here on my land that my family's lived on for over a century, where I raise grass-fed beef cattle. I also raise horses. I have a flock of heritage poultry. I have show-quality rabbits, and I have a retirement herd of miniature horses, miniature donkeys, a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost, and the protector of the poultry, Princess Penny, the pot-bellied pig. And as you can tell from my extremely nosy, my extremely nosy little co-host here, he thinks he's found something to eat over here, Willie, I am a fur kid mom to 13 dogs, 7 indoor cats, and an undetermined number of outside barn cats. So if any of all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll come along with us as we start a new year with 2020 vision. Ha ha! I'm sure y'all have heard that joke enough, but one more time is not going to kill you. As we start a new year of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, so if you're looking for us on social media, my farm Facebook page is the same as my YouTube channel name. It is Buckthorn Farms, and I share articles about farming. I post updates of what's going on here, all sorts of things there. You can also find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Doc Firewoman, and I share lots of photographs on Instagram of crafting and farming and all sorts of things. And on Ravelry, there is a group for the podcast, Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, where you can find out about Makealongs and any giveaways that I might be doing, general chit-chat, all sorts of fun things like that. And that just reminds me of something that I need to write down on my list. All right. Anyway, so... on the group, there is all sorts of information, and we'll talk more about Makealongs in a segment about Makealong winners from this past year and new Makealongs for 2020 and possible swaps and things like that. You can also find me on Twitter, where I am also Doc Firewoman, but I am a pretty socially liberal Democrat, and so if that sort of thing bothers you, I do not keep my opinions to myself on Twitter. If that kind of thing bothers you, probably best not to follow me there. But everywhere else, you're welcome to join in. So that is actually one of my foci, I'm using the math term, an area of focus for this coming year. I've been thinking a lot about community and the community that we build around us. And last year, and probably for quite a while, I have really not been proactive in the communities that I build around myself. I found a community at work where I felt like I'm a part of something, and last year I allowed someone to get in my head about that. And so it kind of took some of the joy out of that for me, and I'm going to take that joy back this year. I've also been participating in different crafting communities, and there are different ways to participate in that. One of the areas that I want to start is I want to establish my own VKN, my own virtual knitting knit night, and it will only be a couple of times a week. I know some groups maybe meet once a week. Some groups are pretty much come in anytime you want. And I may lean more toward having mine open multiple times a week, but right now I want to start a virtual knit night that will meet a couple of times a week. I'll try to pick times where people in different time zones are able to participate. I want to find out when some of the other virtual knit nights are, so I don't conflict with those. I know that there's a large group that are in the IVKN, and then there's another group that follow different crafters or different makers, and I want to try to find out when those are, because I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm just trying to establish myself in the community, because one thing that I would like to do is become more of a I don't want to say influencer. That's such a word. I don't like that word. But I think I have something interesting to say and to offer, and I think I'm a pretty decent person. So I'm going to establish my own VKN. If you follow me on Instagram, I will post the schedule. It's going to depend on a lot on what my teaching schedule is, but I think that I'll start my first one. I haven't signed up for the service yet. It'll be through Zoom for those of y'all who are familiar with that. And I will post on Instagram when the VKN will be open. Like I said, we'll start out with it just a couple of times a week. I think that sometimes it's good to have rooms that are open all the time, but I also too think that sometimes that causes more problems than it helps, if you know what I'm saying. So, you know, I have a certain expectation for how I want to interact with people, and if I leave a situation where I feel worse than when I came in, it's really not beneficial to me to continue to be part of that. And so one of my studies for 2020 is going to be evaluating my interaction in all the communities I'm a part of, whether it's at work or through craft or through other things that I enjoy doing, other hobbies that I enjoy doing, and my spiritual community, and find my place. I'm going to find my own place rather than let that be defined for me by somebody else. So that's one of my, I don't do resolutions because I think that's just setting yourself up to fail. But as a personal goal for the next little while, I'm going to establish my own place and community, and control my narrative and instead of letting other people control it. So that's a rambling way of saying I'm starting a VKN. So follow me on Instagram if you want to know when it's open. Anyway, so what you're really here for, yay, is to find out about Makealongs. So first we will talk about the new Makealongs that we're going to have on the group coming up, and then we'll announce the winners for the 2019 Makealong. So right now we have running the Pie Shawl Makealong, the Leon Alexander Pie Shawl Makealong, that will end on March 15th, which is Pie Day. That is going on. That is a really large shawl. I know it's a commitment, but you know, if you want to participate in that, jump on over there. Now, the new ones that start today and run until December 31st are the following. The string along. Not like stringing somebody along when you're dating, because Lord knows I could talk about that, but we're not going down that road. It is things made from crochet thread, or from thread. It doesn't have to be crocheted. It can be knitting too, or tatting. Anywhere you use thread. I know when I was talking about this on Vlogmas, someone posted that they knit thread into the heels and toes of their socks to make them stronger. That is an application that counts. I mean, that works. Obviously, there's, you know, some of us did the Snowfall crochet along. I'm still working on my snowflakes. I think I'm on the 7th one out of 12. So that counts. Doilies, you know, table runners, tablecloths, anything where you use the crochet thread. So like Aunt Lydia's, or Red Heart makes a crochet thread. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So there will be a chatter thread there, and then there will be an FO thread, and the FO thread will be the same format as Farmer's Almanac and Creature Feature, where you have one post and you put all your FOs in that one post, so you edit it as you go through the year. So the string along is the first one up, and I might have made a large order of thread yesterday from Knit Picks, but I can't confirm or deny that. Then we will be running Creature Feature again. Creature Feature is going to be a quarterly amigurumi make-along. The first quarter is already posted. It's called Up, Up, and Away. So anything that takes to the sky. So things with wings. A hot air balloon with a sheep in it, Snoopy flying his biplane, anything that takes to the skies, I don't care. So I'm pretty flexible. You get a double entry in the thread if you have followed the theme, and then you get a single entry for any other amigurumi that you happen to make. So I will do quarterly drawings again for pattern prizes. There will be a year-end FO thread just like last year where you'll post all of your things. So the first quarter is going to be Up, Up, and Away. I think the second quarter is going to be What's Bugging You, because I know Shirley's wanting to make some cockroaches, which were incredibly cute. They were incredibly cute. I'm sorry, I thought they were really cute. So Shirley, you go on with yourself. Make as many of them as you want to. So What's Bugging You will be the second quarter. The third quarter I haven't decided on yet. And then the fourth quarter is going to be WTF. It's going to be What the Freak Is That? And that's for all the weird amigurumis that you can think of. Things that, like, I've got a pattern for a ceiling fan that Laura got me. And I'm thinking about actually making it just to see if I can. Why not? But, you know, anything that's kind of oddball or unusual. Let's keep it family friendly though, okay? Let's not go a little too crazy. But so anything that's unusual or unique. I haven't quite decided on the third quarter yet. I'm going to give that some thought. I may have like a wild card where you can make anything. So we'll see. I haven't decided yet, but we'll talk more about that when we get closer to time. Like the Farmer's Almanac from last year, I'm going to do a Science Sprinkle Make-Along this year. I'm going to post those on the 15th, though. I'm going to start January 15th, and it'll run through January 15th of next year, where they'll be kind of like the same format as my Farmer's Almanac. There'll be some information about science, a famous scientist, probably a woman of science, because that's what I am. And then maybe a cool science lesson about something, maybe a thing you can try at home if you've got kids especially, and then just some different science things that happened within that month, so sort of a history of science kind of timeline maybe too. So you know, I kind of got inspired by this from looking at the Mad Scientist Yarns Advent Calendar. Oh my gosh, that Advent Calendar, y'all. It was based on the periodic table, and I almost cried because I didn't get in on it, but there's always next year. Anyway, so that'll be another one. That'll start on the 15th. We're going to run Kit or Get Her Done again this year because, you know, I've got this thing with kits. So it'll be a chatter thread plus an FO thread. The chatter thread I'll draw randomly for prizes, and then the FO thread. Since kits take a little bit longer, you can post one post per FO in there. The rules on all these will be, it'll be on the feathers. What are you getting into? You find every loud thing to get on in here. Okay, then the next one is how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So this is where it's kind of like the thing where you pledge to work on something for 100 days, except we're going to do 2 months because that's easier for me to wrap my brain around than keeping up with 100 days. So it started today. There is a post open where you declare what it is you're going to work on. And you say, and you pledge to try your best to work on this thing at least 5 minutes every day for the 2 months. And that way you make some steady progress on it. So every 2 months you can declare a new thing, or if you want to keep working on the thing that you're working on, you can stick with that. That's fine. And then this is one that I had not mentioned, but I'm going to put it up. I'm calling it Practical Magic. So Practical Magic is going to be practical things that we can make that are not apparel items. So not hats, not gloves, not scarves, nothing to wear, but things for the home, like dish carriers, shopping bags, hot pads, towels, washcloths, any practical items, household items that you can make. And I have an ulterior motive for this because I'm going to make some stuff, and guess where it's going? The fair. So you can double dip if you want to, or triple dip, because like, let's say a good friend like Maria gave me a pattern for a beautiful table runner, which she did. So that would count for the string along. That could be an elephant because it's a huge project. And that could also be a practical magic item because it's a table runner or placemats or whatever. And this will be a craft along. So it can be any craft. It can be knitting, it can be crocheting, it can be sewing, it can be quilting. Any craft that creates a practical use. Cross stitch some bread covers, cross stitch some placemats, cross stitch some pillowcases, tat edges on handkerchiefs. You know, so yeah, so the I hadn't mentioned that one, but that one kind of came to me in my mind a couple of days ago as I was working on some dishcloths. So we're calling that one Practical Magic. So no apparel items, nothing that you wear, but things that have a practical use. So bags, kitchen items, household items, Christmas tree skirts could be practical, things like that. Okay. All right, so those are our make-alongs for this go-round. Now I'm going to break, and we're going to tell you who the prize winners are for the 2019 make-alongs. If you didn't see the video that I posted, there is a video of all the prizes, so go have a look at that if you win, and we'll get to that in just a second. Of course, I forgot a couple of things to talk about in the make-along, so I'm popping this in at the end. I forgot the Bust a Move Stash Down one, the big one that I've been working on. I was inspired to do this after talking to both Vanessa and Kirsty about using up stuff. And I know Kirsty on Grianaig Creations is running a Stash Down make-along. And I'm going to be saying stash that you owned before today, January 1st, 2020, or patterns that you owned, whether it's Ravelry patterns or pattern books or whatever format that they're in. As long as you owned them before January 1st of 2020, they will count. If you use a pattern that you owned before the 1st and yarn that you owned before the 1st, you get a double entry. So this is called the Bust a Move Stash Down. There's going to be a chatter thread, or there's already a chatter thread open, and then I will put an FO thread. The way this will work is I will draw probably monthly for pattern prizes, and then we'll draw at the end of the year for a physical prize. So what we'll do is there'll be one post for all your FOs just like the other ones. So the double entry stuff doesn't really matter there, but it does matter for the pattern prizes. So you can post you can post one WIP post per week. And then when you finish the thing, you post your FOs twice if you meet the pattern plus the stash yarn thingy. Does that make sense? Okay. The last thing is, and this is kind of a farm related thing, but I want to go ahead and mention it so you can start thinking about it now. I want to do a seed exchange. I want to do a garden seed exchange at the end of the year. This is something I've been talking about to some different people. I know Maria on Ninja Chickens is doing a dye garden make-along where you can learn about dye plants. And I know that Nancy likes to garden and I like to garden, and I've sent seeds to different people. So as you're gardening this year, think about saving seeds from your plants and your flowers. And then at the end, I'll put a thread open where people can post what seeds they have through the course of the year. Like I already have some that I could post. And then what we'll do is at the end of the year, like say December 1st, I'll put a sign up, we'll put a list of who has what, and then you can contact people if you want to swap. So we're going to do a seed swap. If you're interested, you can get in on that thread for those of y'all that like to garden and stuff. So I thought that would be kind of a neat thing to do at the end of the year, and it's something you can kind of work on all year. Okay, so now, after the prize winners, we will move on to finished objects. Okay, so I sat down with Random Number Generator and I drew winners for all of our physical prize make-alongs for 2019. I also went ahead and drew, there was a pattern prize I needed to award for Creature Feature and for the Farmer's Almanac make-along, and I'll be getting those to the people who won. I won't announce those here, I'll just send them to the people who won. And like I said, for the make-alongs that I just announced, all the rules will be in the thread that you can go read and find out what the rules are. And I will try to have physical prizes for those also. And I'll try to give you something nice at the end of the year for all the work that you've done. So there is a prize video that I posted right after I ended Vlogmas, and you can go look at that to see what you have won. So I'm just going to announce them. The first person that I announce will be the person who wins the first prize, and then the second person that I announce will be the person who won the second prize in the video. And I used random number generator, so randomnumber.org, I believe, is the website to do these. And so I will just, and it turned out, it was kind of weird, it turned out we didn't have any double winners. So that was kind of strange, but that was good. And chances were very good because, you know, I don't have a huge podcast following yet, and I may never, and I don't really care because I like y'all that I've got. And so there were, you know, your chances were statistically pretty good to win on some of these things. So we'll start with Farmer's Almanac. So for the 2019 Farmer's Almanac Make-Along, the first prize winner is the Carrie Ann. So Carrie Ann, if you will get in touch with me, probably through either Facebook Messenger, I know we're friends on there, or Instagram or Ravelry, and send me your address, I will get your prize out. The second winner for Farmer's Almanac is Raven Diva. So Tyra, you can get a hold of me through Ravelry or Instagram. Get Her Done, Sparky136, Patsy, if you'll get a hold of me. I've probably got your address somewhere, but if you'll just send it to me so I'll have it all in one place. The second prize winner is Crafting Trooper, that's Linnea. So if you'll get a hold of me, I've got a prize for you. And Creature Feature, the first prize winner for Creature Feature is going to be NR Stooge. So Nancy, I know I've got your address somewhere, but if you'll just send it to me either on Ravelry and Instagram, so I've just got them all somewhere. The second prize winner is Shirley Knits 123. So Shirley, you won a prize, and I know you said you didn't want to win the spinning one, and it worked out where you didn't. Yay! All right, so the Big Shawls, Downriver Knitter won the first prize. Marilyn, if you'll get in touch with me, you won for that beautiful pie shawl that you put in there. And then the second place winner is Maria, Seductive Berry. So I know I've got your address also, but if y'all will send me either a message on Instagram or on Ravelry. And then Never Have I Ever. So Never Have I Ever, the first prize winner is I Know Who You Are. So if you will get me your details through Ravelry, that would be great. Because I don't actually know your name. I'm so sorry. I should, don't I? But if you'll send me your information. And then our second prize winner is Antonia G. So if you'll send me I've got your address, and I've got something I need to send you anyway, Antonia. So I'll send that in with your prize. So let me go back through those one more time. Farmer's Almanac, it's the Carrie Ann and Raven Diva. Get Her Done is Sparky136 and Crafting Trooper. Creature Feature is NR Stooge and Shirley Knits 123. Shawls is Downriver Knitter and Seductive Berry. And Never Have I Ever is I Know Who You Are and Antonia G. So if y'all will get in touch with me either through Ravelry, or if you're friends with me on Instagram or on Facebook, just somewhere where I can get your physical address, I will get those packages probably mailed, we'll say by the 15th. I go back to work next week, so I'll be able to get to the post office, and I'll get everything packaged up and sent out to you guys. So yay! Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in the Makealongs. It was so much fun to see what everybody was working on, and I hope you were inspired and motivated like I was to watch y'all do this. So thank you so much, and I hope everybody will keep coming back and participate in Make-Alongs for next year. So yay! All right, so now we're going to move on and talk about finished objects. Okay, so I have some finished objects to show you, and one of them is a pretty monumental one in my opinion, and some of them have already gone to their new homes, so I'll just have to pop some pictures in. Okay, so we're going to start with, I finished the other little gingerbread man towel from Miss Betsy. So here's my pair of little gingerbread men. And now that I look at them side by side, this one's buttons are different, but oh well. Alright, so these I made from, this is a pattern by A Crocheted Simplicity. It was a free pattern on her blog, and then this is just knit out of cotton yarn. And then I put little safety eyes on their faces. So this will be Miss Betsy's Christmas gift. We haven't met up yet because she had to go on Christmas Eve up to her daughters in Springfield and watch the kids. So I think we're going to actually meet up Friday. And so this will be her Christmas present for the year. If you watched Vlogmas, you saw that I ordered the wrong color yarn to finish one of these. So I had to wait. And that was part of the reason why I was glad we had to wait. But anyway, so those were very cute, very quick little gifts to make up. So I finished that. Then also, if you watched Vlogmas, you saw that I made some beeswax wraps. So these are the ones, I made several and gave them away, but these are the ones I kept for myself. These are just cotton fabric that I used regular beeswax, just beeswax pastilles or pellets from Mountain Rose Herbs, and I melted them down in the oven. If you're interested in knowing how to make these, I think the Vlogmas, the 21st, or maybe this, it was after the 18th. I don't remember what day it was. But I just took fabric and used the oven to coat it with beeswax. And then the nice thing about it is, I made them in different sizes, but like to mold these over a container, you just use the warmth from your hand to shape them around the container. And they're very easy to take care of. They just wipe with a wet rag. Cool wet rag to wipe off anything that you need to get on them, and then you can easily refurbish them, because if you watched that video you saw that I refurbished some that I already had. This one's a little light on the beeswax, so I actually need to order some more pastilles and finish coating this one. But I made myself several different sizes. I make every size from these smaller ones that I use to wrap sandwiches in for my lunch, to larger ones like this one that you could cover a large Tupperware bowl or a pan. Now, you don't want the thing to be hot that you're trying to cover, because it will just melt the beeswax off, but warm is okay. You don't ever put these in the washer and dryer, but they're very easy to refurbish. If they get a little bit crunchy, you can just put them in the oven and redo them. So I made about, I think I ended up making about 20 of these, and I gave quite a few of them away as gifts. Okay, now the biggie that I finished. Well, no, we'll talk about haha, spoiler, not going to tell you yet. I made some charity hats and took to Brookridge Cove. If you watched my Vlogmas videos, you saw that day. So I'll pop a picture in here. They're just a very simple crochet beanie using up stash yarn that I had. Bulky weight stash yarn. And I also made some fleece lap robes that you saw in the Vlogmas video. So I took those down on the 23rd and dropped those off to the people at Brookridge Cove. I'm in this group called the English Plus Sized Writer on Facebook. And one of the bad things about the horse world is it is very sizist. You know, when you look at buying show apparel, especially English show apparel, but also Western show apparel, it is very difficult to find clothing in plus size, any clothing, especially in English, in plus sizes, and certainly anything that is attractive or well made or stylish. And so there is and also too, there are a lot of places at the show barn or at barns where you ride where people can say some very cutting, hateful things to you if you are a plus-sized person, which I think is ridiculous. But anyway, so I'm in this group, and they do a Secret Santa swap. Well, we signed up for it in October, and then I didn't hear anything, and I didn't hear anything, and I didn't hear anything. And the day after Christmas, I get a package in the mail for my Secret Santa, and I'm like, what? And so what they had done is they didn't send them out until December the 14th, and then they sent them on Facebook Messenger. And if you're on Messenger and you're not friends with that person, it doesn't always show up that you have a message. It doesn't even send you a notification like on Instagram. You'll get a notification if you get a message from somebody you're not connected to. But Facebook, especially on your phone, is terrible about trying to find that stuff. So luckily I found it, and I contacted my person, and I said, I am so sorry. And I got her package in the mail. She wanted some, she rides, her name is Diana, and she rides a Frisian mare named Athena, or Frisian cross mare named Athena. And she loves purple. And so I was able to make her a quick gift. I crocheted her a hat and a scarf, which I'll put a picture in here. And then I made her one of those fabric folded stars like I made for the kids at the barn that I showed on the last podcast. Plus I got some treats for her horse. and I sent that all. She's actually in Canada, so I hope that she will enjoy that. And it turns out that her dad, we're now Facebook friends, it turns out that her dad worked with atmospheric scientists studying the aurora, which was really cool. So I've made a new friend, thankfully, through the Secret Santa process, even though it was a little rough getting started. So I put a picture in there of her gift that I quickly made her. Now for my biggie. So, I've showed this before, and I haven't washed this or blocked it or pressed it in any way, but it is done. I finished my rose horse. Woo! I started this in 1992 when I was in college, but it's finished. So you can see there it's got the blending filament in it, and yeah, that was a big, starting to be sort of a big thing. Now here's the deal. I made this as a set of 3. I started the first one 30 years ago in 1989. This is the first one that I made. This horse is called Southern Belle. And then I made the next one. I finished it in 1990. This was the Armored Horse. And then I started the Rose Horse. And then I moved to Oklahoma for grad school, and I kind of didn't cross stitch for a very, very, very long time. So I picked this up this year, or last year, beginning of last year, and I finished it. Yay! So I need to wash it. I need to wash it and press it, and then I'm going to take it to my colleague's wife's store and have a triptych done. I think I'm going to have all 3 of these framed. Can't hold them all 3 up, but I'm going to have these all 3 framed together. That was my intent when I started them. This one's on a little bit smaller fabric because she's a little bit, so I thought I might put it in the middle and then put these on either end of it. But it's done. It's done. It's done. So, I was looking in my cedar chest for something else. I was looking for the Halloween thing that my mom had made me. Let me show you that real quick. I meant to show that, and I forgot. But keep this. I don't pack this up with my other Halloween decorations because I don't want it to get musty. My mother, many years ago, made me this as a Halloween decoration. And it's a little haunted house. I believe this was in Cross Stitch magazine. And it was a little haunted house, and the white glows in the dark. And then these are little finger puppets. See, they got a little bag. The little witch has got a little bag. These are all little finger puppets, and there's a little pouch to put them all in. But when she gave them to me, she just pinned them on like this, and so I've never changed that. And then also she pinned this little witch pin up there to the top. And so I hang this up every Halloween, and so now it lives in my craft room all the time so that I can see it. And there's a little bat down here too. So, I was looking for that, and what I found, and this is not really FO, I mean it is FOs, but they're very old FOs. They're not completely finished though. And I know that Downriver Knitter and I believe it was her, that we were talking about different ways to finish cross stitch. So I'm going to show you these and talk to you about what I think I'm going to do with them. This is one that I finished when I thought I was going to get married. And that's a whole other story that someday we'll talk about, but not today. So I made this little bunny rabbit because I was going to do my kitchen and all country bunnies. So I think I'm going to finish this as a pillow. I think that would make a really cute little pillow. So this was a pattern out of one of the cross stitching magazines, and I just thought they were really sweet. And now, funnily enough, I own bunny rabbits. I did not even conceive of owning bunny rabbits when I did this. Then another thing that I found was this set of Christmas angels that I finished. So these go together. Now I'm trying to decide what I want to do with these. Part of me wants to frame them. Part of me wants to do something else with them. Maybe like finish them as a quilt, like a wall quilt type thing situation where you sew fabric around them and hang them, make a wall hanging out of them. I don't know. I'll have to think about that a little bit. But I want to do something with them. And then I also have shown on here before the cross-stitched herb pictures that my mother made for me. I'm definitely going to get those framed this year. That's one, that and the carousel horses I'm going to take to my friend's store and have those custom framed. So, yay! That's got me motivated to cross-stitch. Yay! So now we're going to move on and talk about works in progress. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I can consider to be my currently active works in progress. The first thing that I will show you is my curly horse hat. It's a pattern from Sabito Farms. You can't buy it on Ravelry. You have to buy it through their webpage, although you can find them on there. Cynthia Craft is the author of this pattern, and this is what the finished hat is to look like. And I am very close to being done on this, but I didn't quite get finished with it before I decided to record today. I am probably about, I'm about 5 rows from starting my crown decreases. So I am I'm knitting this out of, oh, and this is in my bag that Vanessa got me. I believe this is Missy from Minnesota, the little bear bag here. Very cute little bag, and I like it. It's got a really cool, interesting construction. I really like it. I am knitting this out of some Cloudborn fingering yarn in like a dark charcoal gray, and then this is yarn that I dyed in a dyeing class with Logan from Leon Alexander Yarns at the Twisted Pearl, which is no longer in business in Conway. And I am very close to being done. I am, the horses are finished. You can see the horses there. There's 4 horses. There's 2 on the, what I would call the front, and then there's 2 on the back. Here you can see. Okay, you can see them there. I'm trying not to drop any stitches. Okay, and I am working, I am, like I said, about 5 rows out from the crown decreases, and then the crown has got about, looks like about 20 rows. So I've got about 25 rows, a couple of dots. You know, if I sat down tonight and really pushed, I could probably get pretty far into this. But anyway, so this is one of my first attempts at color work. This is, I think, the 3rd thing that I've made, and this is by far the most complicated thing that I've made. But I'm very pleased with how it's turning out. Yeah, so that's pretty much all to say about that. Very clear, simple pattern. I really like their stuff. So, yeah, so that is the Curly Horse Hat by Cynthia Craft from Sabito Farms. And you can buy that through their webpage. And they are also on Instagram as Sabito Farms. Okay, the next thing is the Snowfall crochet along. I did not get finished with all of my snowflakes. This is in my Curvy Witches bag from Tesla Knits. And just so you know, anything you buy from Jasmine of Tesla Knits, portion of the money goes to Right to Dream 2, which is a safe housing environment for homeless people in the city of Portland, Oregon. The Jessica Wiffall's Snowfall crochet along, I'm currently working on this one. It's called the Enterprise Snowflake. And the way this worked was if you bought the ebook, you got 6 patterns, and then there are also 6 free patterns. So, and then the next one that I've got to make is the Halver Snowflake. So, those are the 2 that I'm currently working on. I would show you what they look like, but because they are not starched yet, because I'm going to wait till I get all 12 of them done, there's really not a lot to see. They're just kind of all bunched up here. But I will show you the pictures of the ones that I have finished. So, I'm working on Enterprise, and next up will be Halver. Since we have last visited, I finished the Olaf. Looks like that. Or will look like that. I finished the Rocinante. Or Rocinante. Beastramath. I finished. And then there's one called Joan, and I think I've got the picture of it here. Let me see if I can find it. I may have left it in my other stuff. There was one more called Joan, and I got it finished also. So since last we talked, I have made 4, and I'm working on my 5th one. So I've got 7 of 12 done. So I probably will finish Enterprise tonight because I'm pretty close to being finished on it. But I had to stop and make the hat and the scarf for my swap partner. Okay, nothing like, you know, surprise crafting that you have to do. I believe I showed this plastic canvas last time where I had finished the pumpkin portion of the plastic canvas, and I have just been sort of pecking away at the sign. So what this looks like ultimately will be this, and I'm down here working on the welcome sign. And I haven't put a lot of time into this. I'm just working on framing up the sign right now. I think I've only worked on this maybe one evening since last I showed it to you. But I wanted to show it just to kind of be comprehensive. Again, you know, a couple of evenings of work and that will be done. So, okay. Let's see. I have not added anything to my changes shawl since I last showed it to you because I have not got the cables that I need out to put my stitches on hold yet. So it is exactly where it was when you saw it last, but I'm kind of saving this up for when I go back to work because this is a good before class project. So this is where it was at when last I showed it to you. I have not made any progress on it whatsoever. So, yeah, but it is still very much in the forefront of my mind of something that I want to get finished. So I probably tonight, since I'm back here where all my stuff is, will get my little cable stitch holders out and get ready to put those stitches on hold so that I can get that finished. Okay, let's see. My doily, I put a little bit of work on since last I've showed it to you. I took it to Marianne's birthday / the Christmas Eve celebration that we have at her place. I am making the Swirl Doily from the Leisure Arts circular round doilies. It's circular number, let's see, leaflet 702, so it's this one. And I have put basically just about another round on it since last you saw it. And I am working my way out, and I think I'm on row like 16 or 17 now of 29. So just going to keep on trucking on that. And that's in my Star Trek bag, and I think this is a Silver Shed USA bag. This was a D-stash bag that I got from Laura. I really haven't put in a lot of work on my Grianaig Creations undercurrent socks, but I will show you where I'm at on those. This is in my Utterly Adorable Knits Moon Phases bag. And I am knitting the undercurrent socks by Kirsty from Grianaig Creations. And so this is, I haven't even moved my progress keeper since last I showed them to you, but this is where I'm at on them. Okay, and this is being knit out of a sock blank by Lamb Woman Knits. So there's my sock blank. And I want to try to make these pretty long so that I can use up a lot of this sock blank, although I guess I could make a second pair of socks. So those are the undercurrent socks by Kirsty from Grianaig Creations. My dragon, I haven't done anything on it since last I showed it to you, but this is the Crafty Intentions Water Dragon, and that's why we're doing Up, Up, and Away is our first installment on Creature Feature, because I need to get back to work on him. Okay, so I've just got his legs done. Again, maybe sit down one evening and put some time in on him. My Christmas Eve cast on for the Wee So and So podcast. She is hosting a Christmas Eve cast on. It's in my Fat Bottom Bags Kitty Cat Moods bag. I cast on the Brigid Hat. Jessica from Two Sticks and Strings had made this, and so all I've done is do my cast on. I'm making this out of Blacker Yarns in the Tussock colorway. It's like a hunter green colorway. And I've literally just done the cast on and started around on the first row of the ribbing. And I've marked my cable repeats here so I can keep up with where I'm at. So, yeah. So, that'll be good. Take to work with me knitting, I think, also. Alright. I don't even think I've got a cable needle in there yet to do my cabling on, but we'll get it sorted out. Alright. So, there's that. And last but not least, as part of my starting to work, oh no, I've got two more things, sorry. Working through stash. Carol and I went geocaching on New Year's Eve, and I'll talk more about that when we get to the Farm Life segment, because I know some of y'all were asking me what geocaching was. Carol and I went geocaching on New Year's Eve, and so, well, first of all, on the 30th, I went with Marianne and her husband Donnie and the family to celebrate their 47th wedding anniversary. Their anniversary is actually New Year's Eve, but we went out to eat in Little Rock on the 30th. And so while I was riding along in the car, I started just a grandma's favorite dishcloth, because this is something I want to get a supply of dishcloths built up, and I've got a lot of different dishcloth patterns. So I just started this one because it was easy to do while I was in the car. And this is part of my cotton yarn stash, so this will go for the stash busting. This is a peaches and cream that I actually got at a thrift store, but it's peaches and cream yarn, and I picked it up at the thrift store. This colorway is called Potpourri Ombre. So I don't even know if you can still get it in that color, because like I said, I picked this up at Marva, my local thrift store. So then my elephant project that I'm declaring for the first 2 months of the Eat the Elephant One Bite at a Time Makealong is my marine life blanket. Now the blocks that I've got done, I've got 13 blocks done, and Simon is sleeping on them, and I didn't have the heart to make him move. So today I have already achieved my goal of working on my elephant, and I've already done my stretching and balance exercises today too. So I am working on the coral. This is a free set of patterns by Yarn Geek Makes. It used to be Two Hearts Crochet, but Alex, Yarn Geek Makes. This is the coral pattern, and I am just getting started. So here that is. There is the coral. Does it go that way? Or that? Yeah, it goes this way. Yeah. Is that right? No, this way. Yeah, it goes this way. So I am just getting started on my coral, and this is also using up stashed acrylic yarn that I have. So yeah, I am on row 15 out of 50. So, or well, 49 really, but yeah. So this is corner to corner crochet. If you've watched me for a while, you remember me starting on this. So there were 12 blocks, and then she released 10 bonus blocks, or 11, no, 10 some bonus blocks. I don't remember how many, 8, 10, I don't know. But I wanted to do a 20 block one. So I've made one of the bonus blocks. This will be my second one, so this will get me up to 14. And then the ones that I have left are, I'm going to do just a piece of seaweed, which will be simple. There's actually 2 seaweeds, but I'm only going to do one of them. The seashell. There is a diver, but I'm not going to use it. There's the oyster with the pearl, the mermaid, and then I drafted my own narwhal. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 patterns I have left total. Well, is that right? I don't remember. I'll have to look. But anyway, so then I'll have all the blocks done. Then I have to go around all of them and get them all the same size, and then I set them together. So this is my elephant project. So I'm going to pledge to work on this a little bit every day for the next 2 months and try to get this blanket done. Because I've started it over a year ago, so I would like to get it done, so I can put it in the fair. Y'all knew that was coming, right? Okay, so that is all my current active works in progress. So now we're going to move on and talk about future crafting. Okay, so in future crafting, I don't have any yarny ones that I'm going to show today because I have so many yarny whips going right now. But I will show 2 cross-stitch ones and a sewing one. While I was off over break, I watched a lot of tutorials, and one of the tutorials that I saw was from Jordan Fabrics about how to use these fabric panels. And this is a panel that I bought, I think I got this from a thrift store. But I have several types of these fabric panels, and this one is all Night Before Christmas themed ones. And I've got a ton of these, and I never knew what to do with them because the most obvious thing is pillows, but how many pillows do you need, right? So what I decided when I was watching the tutorial is she shows a really cute way to make placemats. Now I realize also I probably have way more than ever that I needed the placemats, but they would make cute gifts. So you use the central panel as the center feature on your placemat, and then you put coordinating fabric around it. And it's a really quick and simple project. And so I've got that video bookmarked. It's all video tutorials, and I'll link it down below to make placemats. She's also got some really cute Christmas napkins, and there are several different tutorials of hers that I really enjoyed watching. I mean, normally what I've done in the past is I've used them to make pillows. Like I made this pillow out of a set of panels that I have. But I've got all these, I've still got some of these, and I've got all these seasonal panels, and I thought, well, you can make seasonal placemats or table runners or something, right? So yeah, that gave me some ideas on what to use these for. And so I'm going to try to make up some of those because I think those will be cute, and that'll count toward the Practical Magic Make-Along. The next thing is I am a little bit ashamed of myself for having these grand ideas for gifts for people and then not accomplishing them. Because I get these ideas and then I kind of put them off, and I put them off, and I put them off, and I put them off, and then all of a sudden it's August, and then there's the fair, and then it's October, and then it's like, oh no, I can't get these done in time for Christmas. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start a big gift project this month. Maybe not tonight, or maybe tonight, but if you will recall, I had decided I was going to make these pillowcases for Miss Betsy. I found these at Goodwill in a bag of craft supplies. The person who had done them had originally stitched them closed by accident, or started on one of them and had stitched it closed, and so had quit on it. But I found the chart. The chart was in the pack, and it's stamped cross stitch, but it has a chart with all the threads listed on it, the floss colors listed on it. So I was able to buy the right floss colors. So I want to make these for Miss Betsy for Christmas, this next Christmas, okay? So I am going to start this. I may even start this tonight. I've got my hoop, is one of my hoops that clamps to the table is in the kitchen right now where I was finishing the horse. And before I start the next thing that I'm going to show you, because I need to get to work to print the pattern off, I may go ahead and start this tonight because I've got all the floss. It's really not hard. It's just kind of big, but it's, I think you do 6 strands at a time, if I remember right, if I can find the instructions. I think you use 6 strands at a time to stitch these, if I remember right. I think I remember reading that somewhere. No, 3. You do 3 strands. So 3 strands at a time. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start these. Then I also have the basket that I bought to make for Marianne, which did not get made. I have the poncho pattern, which I had the yarn dyed for her. I think I'm going to have to over dye that yarn though, because the more I look at it, I want it to be a darker green. And that was what held me up about making that. And then I've also bought that Let's Gallop cross stitch that I had in mind to make for her, although I may keep that for myself. But nevertheless, these big projects, I cannot wait until summer to start them. I need to start them now and get a head start on them. So tonight, probably, I will take this in the other room, into the kitchen, and get a start on it. Because the other piece of cross stitch that I will show you is, if you'll remember, I signed up for the year-long stitch-along from Frosted Pumpkin Market. or Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery rather. Okay, they are doing the Animal Almanac. And so I bought the kit to do that. Now this bag is a beautiful cross stitch bag by Charlotte from April 9 Designs. She's starting to do cross stitching bags as well. And this is a great size. You can see it's got that big hoop in there. And it's really well made, and I like the fact that it's clear. Okay. So yeah, this is April 9 Designs bag. Go check her out on Etsy. But I bought the kit for the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Stitch Along. Okay, and that's what's in here. And they just sent the first pattern, but I want to print it out at work so that I can keep track of where I'm at. So I think since I don't want to start this until I go back to work, I go back Monday to work, I'm not going to start this until Monday. So that means I'm going to start the magnolias tonight, I think. Okay. So those are my future craftings for this time. So now we're going to move on. I just have a few little acquisitions to show you because I had so many last time. So I've just got a few this time. Okay, I'm going to call this acquisition / unearthed. So if you watch Stuff You Missed in History class or listen to that podcast, you know they have a segment called Unearthed. Well, this is kind of an unearthed segment too, because these are I'm going to show you something that I found in the spare room when I finally got around to starting to clear up in there. I'm not done, but I got a big chunk of it done, and I'm going to work on it some tomorrow because it's supposed to rain. In fact, it looks like it's going to start raining just any second, but we're supposed to have rain all day tomorrow. So tomorrow will be a working inside sort of day. Okay, so basically all I'm going to show you in acquisitions this time are some books. All right, a couple of books or some books that I got. The first two were a gift. The first two, if you watch my Vlogmas, I got a gift from Mary, a Christmas gift, and she sent me, first of all, this wonderful horse silhouettes knitting and crochet pattern. And the way these are charted designs. You could knit in color work, or you could knit in like a washcloth if you wanted to like do the background and knit stitches and then do the horse and pearl so it would stand out, or do it in color work. Or you could do crochet, and it tells you how it's got different patterns in here on how to do dishcloths or bath mats or throw pillows or blankets, even a grid to do blankets. So this has got some beautiful horse designs in it. It shows, in fact, what's around the edges here are all the ones that are inside there. So yeah, so I want to use some of my cotton to make some dishcloths or some washcloths out of these horse designs, and also be great for some color work too. So yeah. Oh, look at that. That one spells out horse. Anyway, the other thing she sent me were as a beautiful, this is from a library book sale that she found. This is called Country Weekend Knits, and this has got some gorgeous sort of timeless, there's some Fair Isle patterns in here. There's some sort of Aran cabling patterns. There's a Gansey sweater in here. But reminds me very much of that Shetland Knits book that everybody loves so much, and I'm going to get that eventually. But there's a really beautiful cardigan pattern in here too. So there's just some beautiful, sort of very classic, very timeless patterns in here. Beautiful Fair Isle designs, for example, that one. Yeah, so this is a beautiful, beautiful book. There's a gorgeous Aran cabled sweater. So there's just all sorts of beautiful patterns. There are some shawls in here, it looks like, as well. Yeah. Oh, and Shetland lace shawls. Yeah, so this is very much some British Isles sort of knitting, I suppose. So, yeah, beautiful pattern. So there's an old shell shawl. So I'm looking forward to digging into this. I'm going to start my first sweater very soon. I'm going to make the flax. I need to swatch for it. But I'm going to make the flax. I bought the yarn, and that's something that I need to do before I go back to work. Now, if you watched Vlogmas, you saw that one day Carol and I went up to Yellville, Arkansas to meet my friend Lisa and drop off some things that she had ordered. And we always make a point of stopping at the Have a Heart Rescue Thrift Store. And I found some beautiful cross-stitched items there. I think they're old schooler patterns, someone said. Beautiful cross-stitched items, and then some serving pieces, because you know I've got this thing about dishes. But what I also found were some cross-stitch books for bread cloths and things, of which I have some bread cloth blanks over there that I need to make up, and some tea towels. But also I found this quilting book, the Underground Railroad Sampler. And what this is it's a series of patterns that from oral history supposedly told the slaves about escaping and going along the Underground Railroad to freedom. Now, there are some people that dispute this and say that it's not true, but this one woman told, you know, of course she could not read or write, but she passed this oral history down. And so what it does is it tells, her name's Ozella McDaniel Williams was the lady that they talked to. And she tells a little bit about the different history of the different blocks. So like bear paw, the bear's paw. The bear's paw, it says, was the third quilt used to prepare the slaves for their journey. Runaways were directed to follow the actual trail of a bear's footprints. Animal footprints would indicate the best path, just like a road map through the mountains. Following the bear's paw would also lead tired, hungry runaways to food and water. Reference has been given specifically to the Appalachian mountain range closest to South Carolina area and plantations owned by slaveholders. The range ran southwest to northeast that paralleled the Underground Railroad route. Most certainly there were bears in these mountains roaming about and searching for food after their long winter hibernation. Most escapes took place in the spring. With the spring rains, it would be easy to follow the bear's paw trail to food and safety. So it's got all these different blocks in it. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to someday get some Civil War era reproduction fabrics and make this quilt? Oh, that's a long ways off, but still, it's something neat to read about and think about. Miss Betsy's really interested to see this. So anyway, I got that book up there. Then here's my unearthed book. I've talked before, if you've watched the podcast, about my mom being my mom and I being in the Crafter's Choice book club. And she bought this book many years ago. It's Cross Stitch Christmas. And I forgot that we had it, and it was behind, under, covered up, whatever. So when I was in the spare room cleaning up, and packing up stuff and straightening up a little bit the other day, I found it. And I got to looking through it, and there are some beautiful patterns in here. And now that I'm sort of in the mode of wanting to cross stitch again, a couple of them caught my attention. And so I'll just show you a couple of the patterns. The first one I think is really beautiful. It's this one. It's very Nordic looking. It's a tray base. And I've got some unfinished wooden trays in my hoard of craft supplies. Another one that I think is beautiful is, let's see if I can find the bigger picture of that. Yeah, is this Woodland Christmas Sampler. And then also those ornaments are gorgeous. And there's lots of other patterns in this book, but these are just sort of a sample of what's in there. Beautiful patterns. And then I also found, while I was looking through there, my lifetime membership certificate to the Rainbow Riders that Marianne gave me in 2014. So I've got my bona fides now. But anyway, that's all I'm going to show you this week on acquisitions. So we're going to move on and talk about some science. Okay, well, there's not a lot of science girl stuff to talk about today because I haven't been on campus for the last 2 weeks. We've been out for the holiday break, although I do have to get some work done tomorrow. I've got a student, my student Grace is applying. She applied for a NASA internship, but she's also applied for an REU, which is Research Experience for Undergraduates. It's a summer internship program, and I need to write her a letter of recommendation. I'm also a reviewer for the NSF graduate fellowships, and I need to start reviewing the applications that I have in my queue tomorrow for that as well. I've kind of put everything off till the 1st, and now I've got to go back to work, right? But we start back next week. We start a week from tomorrow with classes. But I am doing a teaching mini conference next Tuesday, which is, I think it's called Remembering the Past or something like that. I can't really remember what it's called, but I signed up for it as part of my diversity and inclusion track that I'm doing through the Center for Teaching Excellence. So I am signed up to do that. And then I'm teaching, I don't know if I'm teaching overload or not. I haven't looked to see. Let's just look really quick and find out if it hasn't timed out where I was logged in. I may end up teaching an overload section this year of the college physics class because I'm also teaching an upper division faculty detail schedule. Let's just see, shall we? Okay. College physics. That one's on Wednesday. It looks like it got opened, so let's see. Maximum. I've got one class that is full with a wait list of 20. Oh, they haven't opened this other one yet, though, so they may wait to do that. But I'm teaching astrophysics, so I've got a new textbook, so I've got a new prep for a new textbook, and then I'm teaching university physics. So we'll be doing our service learning again, which is very exciting. Right after we go back to school on Martin Luther King weekend, I'm taking some students to Norman, Oklahoma to the conferences for undergraduate women in physics meeting. Several of my 2 research students, Carol and Grace, are going, plus some of the other young women who are physics majors will be going to that. And I'm very excited to be going out to Norman. I'd like to hopefully get to see John, my research advisor, and some of my other friends while I'm out there. I know my friend Chris, his dad is in the hospital. He was supposed to be going to Hawaii with Chris to the meeting that's there as part of their anniversary gift, and something is wrong and he's not going to get to go. And I know Chris was really sad. So Chris, I know you probably don't watch this, but I hope your dad's okay. So that's kind of all that's going on, just kind of getting ready for a new semester and new students and everything. But I did want to talk to you a little bit about oh, no, there is another thing I want to talk about. I shared an article on Facebook called My Semester Among the Snowflakes, and a lot of my friends went, what? And then they read it. It's about a 52-year-old military veteran who decided to go back to school, and he thought what he was getting into were all these little children who needed safe spaces and were up in their feelings and all of this, and what he found out was very different. It was a very nice, well-written article about how the young people that, especially like where I see, are very engaged. They're very civically engaged. They're very civically minded. They're very much into making the planet better and making the world better and trying to be inclusive regardless of their spiritual beliefs. You know, they're more open and accepting. And that's one thing that I really get mad about is someone on Facebook, and Facebook does really not much good anymore, it seems like, except to make me mad, posted a thing about Greta Thunberg saying, Greta, babies are more important than saving the rainforest. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say to that. You can care about more than one thing. As an animal person, I very often get attacked. Well, aren't people more important than animals? I can care about more than one thing. I'm a big girl. I'm a smart person. I know how to care about more than one thing. And to the idea that you want to conflate these two things and say, well, if you care about the planet, you must not care about saving kids. Well, you know, you need a planet so you can have life, but whatever. I get really annoyed at people that say, well, if you care about X, you must not care about Y. That is just a way for somebody to avoid dealing with the problem. They just, you know, because 9 times out of 10, whatever they're saying, well, you ought to care about this, then when you really push them on it, they don't care about what that really is. They just want to fuss. Or, you know, I don't like this because it's a liberal agenda, because it's environmentalism, so I'm going to complain about it over here. Well, you know, quit being an idiot. Plenty of my friends who are not necessarily on the liberal spectrum understand that we need to save this planet because they're sports people. They're interested in hunting and fishing, and they're seeing the impact that that's having. Or they're farmers. They're seeing the impact that climate change is having on their livelihood. So let's put that aside for a minute and just say, I can care about more than one thing. But anyway, back to my talk about this article. I really appreciated the perspective of this person who's around my age, who thought they knew about the Gen Z people and then found out that they didn't, and they were open to learning from these young people. So I'm going to share that article because I think it's definitely worth reading. But the other thing that I want to talk about is the star Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse, don't say it 3 times or he'll show up, right? Betelgeuse, I said it 3 times, is a star in the constellation Orion, which is timely because Orion is a winter constellation here in the northern hemisphere. So I'll post a picture of the constellation Orion in it. Betelgeuse is the red star that's in Orion's shoulder. Now, Betelgeuse is what we call an AGB star. It's an asymptotic giant branch star. Asymptotic is, the word asymptote in math means approaching but never getting to. So it gets closer and closer and closer to a value, and it just kind of goes off into infinity, getting closer and closer. The asymptotic giant branch is part of a star's evolution, where it is usually what, or sometimes we call them second ascent red giants. So this star has gone through one red giant phase, and then it has settled down into probably a helium burning phase, and now it's on the asymptotic giant branch. What happens with a star as it ages, it gets hotter on the inside, and even our sun will do this. It gets hotter on the inside. When a star uses up all of its hydrogen and temporarily the burning turns off and the core begins to contract, it'll heat up, because when you compress a gas, it heats. So it's going to heat up, and then the effect that has, the core is going to get hotter, but what that's going to do to the outside, or what we call the atmosphere or the envelope of the star, is it makes it swell up. It's like, I use the example of a Jiffy Pop popcorn popper, but not a lot of my students know what that is, so I talk about microwave popcorn bags. When you put them in the microwave oven, or you put the Jiffy Popper on the stove and it heats, what does it do? It goes boom. Okay? Well, that's kind of what the atmosphere of a red giant star does. When the core gets hot, the atmosphere puffs up. Well, when it puffs up, it gets cooler, and cooler things appear red. So the star becomes large but cool, so it's a red giant. So Betelgeuse is on the second go around of doing this. Now, here's what's interesting. Betelgeuse has started getting dimmer. Now, everybody was like, oh, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, that's just something that red giant stars do. They fluctuate in brightness. But the problem with red giants of the second ascent is you don't really know where they are in their burning phase. So it could be that Betelgeuse may be about to explode. And, oh, that would be awesome if it did. Well, we need it to have exploded 700 years ago because it's 700 light years away. So it needs to have exploded 700 years ago so that we can see it now. Because it'll take that long for the light to get to us. But it may be about to explode. It may just be going through a variable phase. We don't know for sure. But it is noticeably dimmer. It was one of the top 10 brightest stars in the nighttime sky, and now it's not even in the top 20. It has gotten noticeably dimmer over the last 2 months. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And it's really exciting to me because Betelgeuse is a massive star in its red giant phase. If it explodes, it will explode in what's called a type 2 supernova, which is a massive star supernova, and it will make the R process, which is what I work on in my research. So I'd be like, woo, let's go look at this light from Betelgeuse. The other thing is it may be bright enough that we can see it during the daytime if it explodes, which would be really cool. But it probably is not going to explode, but it might, so that could be really exciting. Maybe we'll get to see a galactic supernova. The thing that's interesting is the predicted rate for galactic supernova is about 3 per century, and we have not observed a supernova in our galaxy since the 1700s. So we're overdue, statistically. So wouldn't it be cool if that was Betelgeuse? So anyway, nothing to fear if it blows up. Don't be alarmed. It's going to be far enough away that it's not going to cause any problems for us. But it would be very exciting for me as a person who works on stellar nucleosynthesis if it did explode, because then we could look at its spectra and see if we saw gold. But anyway, so that is what's going on with that, and so that's where we end our science segment. Now we're going to move on and talk about farm life. Okay, well, if you've been keeping up with Vlogmas, you saw a lot of what's going on the farm here. I've got my horses at home right now since we're not having any organized riding. They're just taking a little bit of a break, and they're out there just being horses. Bo has been in the pond every single day. Right now, I've still got my yard bunny. I did have 2 yard bunnies for a little bit because apparently I had a rusty hole in the bottom of the cage, and one of them kind of fell out of the bottom of its cage and was running around in the yard, but I caught it in a live trap, so it's back up. I bought the cattle a couple of protein licks, put out for them. This time of the winter, things start getting a little rough on them. You know, we really haven't had a lot of cold weather. The last week has been, the highs have been in the 60s and the 70s. Now we're starting to get more typical winter wet right now, but it's not super cold. So I'm just concerned that January is going to slap us down, or early February. So I put down a couple of protein tubs for my cattle to let them lick. And then the upside of that is I can use the tubs as planters. You know, I always worry about hay to make sure I've got enough hay to get through. I've been trying to make them clean up what's out there on these warmer days. But, you know, you always get worried. It looks like I'm going to have to start for sure budgeting for 200 bales a year. I was doing 100, then I went up to 150, and I think even 150 this year is not going to get me all the way through. I'm going to have to buy a little bit more. So I'm just going to plan from now on for 200 bales of hay. Got my tractor fixed. My friend's husband came, Carol's husband Rick came and fixed my tractor, so now I don't have any leaks anymore, which is nice. And I'm paying that bill off. That does take a little bit of money because it's, you know, it's expensive work to have tractors worked on, but that's okay because I'm glad to have it fixed, and it's definitely worth the money. I'm working on the garden. I started putting down weed block and started cleaning things up. I haven't started building my raised beds yet, although I did buy all the materials for that. I'm going to start planning out what seeds I want to buy, and the reason I'm working in the spare room is so I can put my little greenhouse set up in there and start my seeds here in I'll probably start them about the 1st of March. I don't want to start them out too far ahead because then they get too big and leggy and they don't do well. I've got to start thinking about, am I going to breed Gusty? I'm kind of starting to waffle a little bit on that, although I would like to, because she is getting older, but I also need to send Trixie to the trainer. And those are both expensive propositions. You know, Trixie I would like to send to the trainer for at least 30 days and maybe more like 60 days. So that's, you're looking at probably, you know, $1,700-$1,800 for that. Plus breeding Gusty, by the time I pay the stallion stud fee and the shipping fee and pay my vet, you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 there. So I have to think about, you know, can I afford comfortably to do both of those things? And do them well, because I don't want to halfway do either one of them, because, you know, Gusty's baby is too important to me, and also having Trixie ridden is too important to me. I think I'm going to have Denise ride Trixie if she can get it set up. I think she'll do a good job with her. So, you know, we're just kind of getting along out here on the farm. You know, I've been doing the things that I can do. I've still, you know, I've always got a project list 10 miles long when I'm off for a break, and I never get it all done. But I've also learned that self-care is important, and if I feel like I need to rest, then that's what I need to do. I don't need to push myself to the point where I'm just about to fall down. I have started trying to, I let my physical health, I mean, not my fitness level go a little bit. I mean, I ride horses and I'm busy on the farm, but as far as my cardio workout and stuff, I need to up my game there, and also my flexibility. I was doing really good. I was working on a mobility routine for a long time, and then I just kind of stopped all that. And I need to start that back up. So I looked at buying some different ones, but I already have a mobility workout program. The thing that I didn't like about it is if you followed through on the DVD, because there's so much explanation that goes along with the movements, is it would take you like 45 minutes to 50 minutes to get through it. And I'm like, But I know all the movements now, so I can get through a mobility workout in 15 to 20 minutes if that's what I need to do. Or I can do a more full one in like half an hour. It helps my riding. It keeps me from being injured. And it's just something that I feel like I need to get back in the habit of. I also need to get back in the habit of walking at work. Yes, it's fun to be able to sit and knit on my lunch break, but I also need to walk. So I'm going to have to find the trade-off there. I mean, I need to walk for at least 30 minutes every day because I feel better when I do that. And so that's something where I'm going to have to put down my knitting or put down my reading or whatever, and I'm going to go back to walking on my lunch break. For at least 30 minutes, at least 3 times a week, preferably 4 to 5 times a week. Simply because I've got to think about my health. You know, I am a healthy person generally, but I am noticing my stiffness and my lack of mobility in certain ways, and that affects my riding. And I need to lose some weight. I'm not going to lie. I've gained weight. I'm not happy about it. And I need to lose weight for my physical health, but also for my horse, because if I'm going to be training and I want her to be in top shape, and I need to be in top shape too, or better shape. I'm never going to be a gym rat. I did that for a little while in graduate school because I had a friend who was one and I would go with her. I'm never going to be that person again. I'm never going to be 150 pounds again, but I would like to be 175 pounds, you know, and I've gotten above that and I need to not be there. So that's something that I'm going to, and that's not anything to do with vanity. That has to do with my physical health. I carry my weight in my torso, which is incredibly unhealthy. That causes problems with heart disease and with high blood pressure and with diabetes and liver disease. And I just know that I want to be alive and around for these guys for a long time. So I have to be responsible. So I told myself if I will work on my mobility stuff every day for at least 5 to 10 minutes, preferably 15 to 20, if I will do that every day for the month of January, then I will buy myself something nice for showing for next year, like a nice new bridle or a nice new pair of breeches or something like that. So that's my deal with myself. I have to do it every day, at least 5 to 10 minutes. So I have to do my stretches every day for at least 5 to 10 minutes, preferably 15 to 20 minutes every day to increase my mobility, to make it easier for me to sit the trot and all that stuff. So that's kind of my deal with myself. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on here on the farm. Now, I will talk a little bit about geocaching. Some people had asked about that. Geocaching, and I did a little video clip, but Carol recorded it on her phone and I don't have it, so I'll just briefly explain to you what it is. It is a location-based game. It's 20 years old this year. It began in the year 2000. When the GPS satellites became public and not classified. And you use GPS coordinates to locate caches. Now, a lot of the times what you're looking for is a little container that has a physical little log sheet, like a little piece of paper in it that you sign your name to. They're usually put at places of interest or beauty spots or something of significance historically or, you know, to that person or whatever. But sometimes you're looking for what's called a virtual. Like if you go to the National Mall, there are no physical containers allowed on federal property for obvious reasons of like security. But what they will have you do, for example, there's a scale model of the solar system that you can walk at the National Mall, and to prove that you were there, you have to take your photograph in front of the sign of one of them and post it to the geocaching website, and that's your credit for finding that one. Sometimes you find what are called earth caches, which are my favorite because you have to learn a little bit about the geology to be able to answer questions to get credit. But most of the time you're looking for a little container. Now, here's the trick though. Just because you get to the right location doesn't mean you're going to find the container right away, because they can be hidden in very crafty, clever, and creative ways. And they're ranked by difficulty. So when you look on the geocache information page, it'll give you some idea of maybe what you're looking for, but also of the difficulty of the hide and how difficult the terrain is to get to it. So on New Year's Eve, yesterday, Carol and I went out to Makealongs Mountain, which is a mountain north of Clarksville, and there's a Forestry Service road up there. And we found some caches, which were called lonely caches. They had not been logged since 2015. So nobody had looked for these caches since 2015. And the main reason being is you need a high clearance 4-wheel drive vehicle to get up these roads. You can't go up it in the Corolla. You could hike it, but it'd be a long way. And so we took our Jeep and we went caching. We found 4 of the 6 we looked for, and then we also went to Broccoli Arch, not broccoli as in the vegetable, but Brock, the name Brock, L-Y, Arch, which is a natural rock arch formation up there. So I took some pictures there too. And that's one of the beautiful things about geocaching is you find these amazingly beautiful places, or you learn something about the area that you live in. And in fact, I have used it to plan road trips before, because it will send you to these cool, interesting locations that you might ordinarily miss. When I went to Denver a few years ago to the Geocaching National Meeting, I used the geocaching maps to plan my route that I would drive on, and I found these amazing things like this beautiful park in Wichita, Kansas. That was so extraordinary. It was at the junction of the Little Arkansas and the Arkansas River. And then we found the Cathedral of the Plains, and we found a really cool dinosaur foot tracks monument that we would have normally missed. So it's definitely fun. It's an enjoyable hobby. It's great to do with families or kids. It's a good thing to do for your fitness if you want to get out and walk. It's just a lot of fun. And I had kind of let myself stop doing it for 2 reasons. The one reason is I was dating someone for a while that told me it was a stupid hobby, and he made me feel really dumb about it, and I let that get in my head. And then the other reason is there was a podcaster who I really respected and thought a lot of that after the election said some very unkind things about people with my way of thinking, and that hurt my feelings. And so I kind of stopped. I just kind of stopped for a while. But every time I do it, I remember how much I enjoy it. And it's a lot of fun when you go with a friend, too. It's definitely much more fun to go with a friend. So anyway, we went geocaching. So I'll put in a couple of little video clips of us looking for them or driving up these crazy roads, and I'm going to turn the sound off of the one of us driving because there's some words that weren't really appropriate for a family friendly podcast a couple of times, so we won't let the sound just be off of that one. But then I'll put some pictures in too, so I hope you enjoy those. So I'll put those in at the end of this, and then we'll come back with a few final thoughts. I'm taking a video. I just turned it over and tapped it on the behind. It fell out. There you go. Pretty little pond. 815. Yeah. Granville. Granville, yeah. He just hit a bunch of new ones. I saw, because I get the what kind Oh, is this? He's like, I got it.
Your car going through here? Yeah, I'm done. Oh, it's falling down the hills. Oh, yeah. Let's move the daredevil.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I don't worry now.
No. He may look like his daddy, but he acts like his mama. Oh, is this them wrong?
No,
Oh,
it
no.
gets worse.
Oh, okay.
Turn around.
He's like, no, we got it. We got it.
Spray. I mean, I saw
Was there a turn off back there? Well, remember that one time you got on one of these and it was actually a walking trail? It was really a road. Well, my only concern about this little endeavor is right up there. It kind of ends. This side kind of ends. I mean, you could kind of get over on this, I guess. Because I'm like thinking you're going to get up there on that tree and we might have some trouble.
like that.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Come on, Jeep. Watch. Oh, well, that's a lot easier going down than it was coming up it. Sweet. So this is why you geocache, because you find places like this. This is Rockley Arch, which is a, well, maybe that's what it is. It's an natural arch here. Down there where you can see, out in the Ozark National Forest. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so for final thoughts today, I thought it would be really appropriate to talk about the Robert Burns poem Auld Lang Syne. Partly because it's New Year's Day, but partly because for many years my significant other was a Scotsman, and I really enjoyed learning about the culture and the history of, he was from the northeast coast of Scotland, and he was in the sort of the periphery of the Highlands. And I enjoyed learning about that area and felt very at home in that area myself. And I'm still friends with his family, so I would still like to go back there someday and visit. But Auld Lang Syne was a poem written in 1788 by Robert Burns, who was a Scottish poet. And then it was set to the tune of a traditional folk song. It was carried over to the New World by immigrants, by Scots and Irish immigrants. And we sing it now for New Year's, because it's kind of implores us to go back and look at the past. A lot of times the song Auld Lang Syne would be sung not just for New Year's, but it would be sung at weddings, it would be sung at Kaylee's, it would also be sung on Burns Night in celebration of Robert Burns. And the why we started singing it then is kind of, you know, lost to the history of folklore, the mists of folklore history, but we are in the States really only know the first part. Now, because I used to work for a friend of mine who was a Celtic musician, I actually know the full lyrics. But Auld Lang Syne means old long since, or old long time, or basically it implores you to look back at the past and also to look back at friendships that you have and remember those. And to remember those sort of fondly. And so I'm not even going to try to say these, and I think this is mostly Doric is the dialect that's used here, but my favorite section of the song is one that you actually don't hear very long, and the Americanized or the Anglified lyrics are we too have run about the braes and pulled the daisies fine, but we've wandered many a weary foot since Auld Lang Syne. We too have played in the burn from morning sun till dawn, but seas between us braid have roared since Auld Lang Syne. And there's a hand, my trusty friend, and give us a hand of thine, and we'll talk a right goodwill drink for Auld Lang Syne. That's my favorite part of the song, because the part where it talks about seas between us have roared, I think about the people who immigrated into the States from Scotland and Ireland, usually knew they would never see that land again. They knew they would never see their friends again or their family. They knew that they were going to the new world to start a new life, but that the life that they left behind, they would probably never see their family again. And so they would look back very fondly on those places. And a lot of the reasons why, particularly the Scots and the Irish immigrants settled in both the Appalachians and the Ozarks, is they reminded them of the Caledonians. And in fact, the Appalachians and the Caledonians are probably, due to continental drift, the same mountain range. They just got separated over the millennia. But I like that because you should look back fondly on the things from the past that you care to look back fondly on. And don't let those things be forgotten. That which is remembered lives, right? That which is remembered lives. And so cherish the friends that you have made, and, you know, let the things go that made you angry, I guess. Let those things go on and move forward into the future. That's, like I said, that's one of my goals for this coming year, is to put away the things where I allowed myself to lose control of my narrative, whether in the community at work, the community of crafting, my spiritual community. And so I've decided to let that go and not harbor that anger or ill will anymore, and to cherish the friendships that I've made from those things, and to move forward with a new, fresh, hopeful narrative as we move forward, hopefully together, and into 2020 and the new decade. So Willie's asleep because I've bored him, I guess, here. Are you cold, buddy? Oh, I had to put your coat in the wash. I'm sorry. So until I see y'all again, welcome to the new decade. Thank you for coming back and joining me. And y'all check out the Makealongs and tell a friend about the podcast. And please like and subscribe if you would, please. That's one thing I would like to do, is try to strengthen our community and make it more rich here in this next year. But thank y'all for stopping by. Willie says it's time for a nap. Actually, I got some Hoppin' John on the stove. I'm getting ready to go eat me some some black-eyed peas and some hog jowl on the stove. So, excuse me. For a little good luck, I'm going to go have that here on New Year's Day. So thank y'all for stopping by. And until I see y'all again, y'all be good to each other and take care of each other. And what, Willie? Willie says I'm cold and I want some food. Peace out, y'all. Bye. You tell him bye, Willie? No. Okay. Bye, y'all.